CONQUEST, man. It's been 7 years. I know you've been working on your album, but you gotta get the kids what they want.
Right.
Yo, you gotta give them that little money bag, baby dirt.
What?
You gotta put some effects
Money
on
bag,
your
baby.
voice.
Nah.
You gotta auto-tune that joint.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Effects on my voice to a minimum, so the emotion is done when I'm feeling the virtuosity. Worthy of cinema versus probably unnerving to simpleness. This is Serena walking at Wimbledon. Michael Jackson will walking for something. Notice Serena watching the infrared through idle ashes. The joy is magnificent, isn't it? When you find yourself interested in stop it, that's a specific within. Critic within, living pretending to say how you act in religion you spit. Everything in your sex is that's what's next. Straight profit, imitate, stop it, illustrate, stop it. Wait, stop it, you're a chief, everything is stop it. I need those hands in the air. If you want to sign of the copy, and the first thing is I got me. No one else will be here when I high scream, if you just watch me. Hands in the air. I don't imitate the white face, and I'm saying my great man all the way. I'm the head of the tail, but it's the surety. I don't need the back of my voice. I don't need to copy on the hop. I don't need to look at your ID. The key if I can work hard. I don't need to look at my voice. I don't need to copy your style. I don't need to check your whole ID. The key if I can work hard.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your DeProgrammed podcast with Conquest. We are talking to Kaela Sauce. We are talking about Christian hip-hop and the alleged copying that may be going on. You might want to stick around for this for the next hour or so. Ari will be here soon. Kaela will be back here as well. We're getting it started, ladies and gentlemen, officially. Excited to be here. Happy Monday to you and yours. Matter of fact, let's play some tunes, man. There's an album I got out called Radical Interruption, the motion picture. And as we get everybody back in position, then we're going to get right to it, ladies and gentlemen. We're not going to play any games. We're going to get right to it. In fact, let me play the record right here. So Ari should be joining us soon. Let me see if I can find Kaela. In fact, let me put my pinned comment in here. I almost forget to do that sometimes. So let's see if we get that in there. Let me pin the comment. Here we go. Yes. So I'm really excited for you guys to be here. Like I said, Kaela should be here soon. Matter of fact, let me see if I can go find her really quick. Let's see if I can go find her so we can get that going. So yeah, we're going to have a very extensive conversation. We're going to get to know Kaela intimately, personally, as far as her career goes, as far as the things that she does creatively. She's a graphic designer. We're going to learn more about that. And of course, we're going to get down to the main questions like, why did she create a playlist talking about Christian artists and Christian songs and the artists they copy? We definitely are going to get into that. So as soon as I can get Kaela in here, then we can definitely get that going. Oh, there she is. Kaela's here. I'm going to wave to her, and I'm back in. Beautiful, beautiful. I was about to, kill dead air and not do a good job of that. You know what I'm saying? I hate that when that happens. But let me invite her in here. Welcome to it. Hopefully more people will be rolling in. Kaela.
Hey, how's it going?
No, I love the aesthetic, Kaela. Kaela, I see the hair. I see the glasses, the rims. I see it. I love it.
Thank you.
You look and move like a graphic designer. I gotta say.
Thank you.
Definitely. Yeah, we had a slight technical difficulty, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, you're good. I figured because it kicked me out, and I'm like, I'll just hop back in.
Yeah.
But
No. Somebody else kicked me out. I'll just say that. Okay. Zeno in the building. I see yo, Kaela. I see you got your fans and your people in your building.
Oh, yeah.
So
Appreciate it.
excited. Yeah, man. So listen, I'm not going to waste time. Ari should be clocking in too. That's my co-host. But ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jason Andre Roberts, a.k.a. Conquest. The co-host that should be joining us pretty soon is Ariana Aparicio, a.k.a. Ari. And yes, welcome to your DeProgrammed podcast, where these two creators talk about everything under the sun in a way that speaks about everything so that you can change everything, right? And man, I'm super excited to have this young lady below. She's become a very interesting figure in our space, well, my space in particular, because I'm a Christian hip hop artist. I'm from that world. And she did something that I have to say was very bold and very thought provoking. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to clap it up, send fire emojis, and welcome to the space, Kaela Sauce. Kaela
Yeah.
Sauce, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I've been good. It's just I feel like it's been a crazy past week because I honestly wasn't expecting like so much
Mm-hmm.
responses from not just consumers, but surprisingly like even artists, Um,
Okay.
but yeah, I'm excited to talk about it though. It's
Okay.
gonna be good, and I feel like even though some people took it negatively, I feel like it was able to stir up a lot of discussions about music in general,
Right.
especially music within like, this space of Christian hip hop. And yeah, it's been interesting, but it's been a lot of good discussions as well. So, I mean,
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
also, very chill and stuff. So like a lot of stuff doesn't get to me. So it's like, okay, cool, you have your opinion, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're
this
going to
was
talk about that because I definitely saw some things in certain comment spaces, and I
yeah.
definitely want to address those things for
Oh
sure.
yeah.
I didn't want to start off with that right away. Plus, I'm still making sure my co-host is situated because she had
Right,
questions
right.
for you. I sent her the invitation, so she should be joining
Okay.
us shortly. But with that being said, Kayla, I do want to start. It's now saying that it's unable to join, so I'm gonna try and work it out again.
Okay.
Kayla, so I'll say this. So let's start this way. So we know you. I mean, your main trade is not just to like expose CHH copying, and, that type of thing. Your main trade is that you're a graphic designer,
Yeah.
and a very great one. So I got a chance. Obviously, the playlist led me to you. So I went to check it out and check who you were. And I saw all this amazing artwork that you did. So if you could, please, because more than the playlist, we want to get to know you. Because even in the comment section, when people reacted to the playlist, a lot of people were, who is this random person? Who is this random girl coming
Yeah.
in saying this stuff? But you have something going on. So let's get that question off first. Like the graphic design. How did you get into that space?
Uh, so, okay. So I was in college because I just turned 30 this year. So college was about what, 11 years ago.
Okay.
I had a friend of mine in college that he used to make beats.
Right.
And
Wait,
then
before
he
you
had.
continue, before you
Mhm.
continue, Taylor, what college, if you don't mind sharing, what college did you go to?
Oh, I went to Hillsborough Community in Tampa because that's where I'm originally from.
Okay.
So yeah, so one of my friends, he, during lunch and stuff, he'd make beats, but he also had Photoshop on his laptop. And I've always been like leaned more to the creative side as a kid, but I remember him showing me, Photoshop and whatnot, and I was just so like intrigued with how you can create something out of like, just putting stuff together and using different
Mm-hmm.
tools and stuff. Um, so he, hooked me up with the software and I just started messing around with it and just started to get better at it. And I felt like too, I was able to find like the style that I like. Because I feel like every artist, like for an example, I've had people send me art that they thought was mine because of the certain aesthetic or way that it looks. They're like, "Did you do this?" And I'm like, "No, it looks like something I would do, but it's not mine."
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted something that was mine per se. And then of course, being a Christian hip hop fan since I was like young, like 14, 15, and living out in Tampa, we had like Flavor Fest, all
Yeah.
like the tours would go through Orlando. So me like being in that space as a fan, and connecting with people and stuff, I started to do, like graphics here and there. And I feel
Right.
like once I got comfortable to, start charging people,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I started to connect with other artists because then I would make art for one artist and then they post and then, it's just the whole like network thing, the whole domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I've made a lot of good friends in the space. I've done, art for different artists that you may know. Cam with Culture Villains. I've done a lot
Mhm.
of work for him with his album Problematic. I did that,
Okay.
and his new Bossa Nova. I know you know A3 and 350. I've done work for them too.
I do. Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
so
Good.
yeah, so just different artists in the space. And also I'm like a very, I guess, likable person. Like I make friends with everybody. So like meeting all these
Right.
people at events and stuff, people following me, they're like, "Oh, your art is dope. Let's work and
Right.
connect." And once you realize that you're like a decade in the space and you
Mhm.
know like everybody at every event you go to. But as far as the design part, that's how I got into it. I was introduced to it through a friend, and I just kept at it and just, was not taking advantage because that's not the word, but like the connections I had in the space, just, sometimes doing a discounted art so I could just get my name out there.
No,
And,
I
just
understand.
networking. It's all about networking. Um, and yeah, so that's pretty much how I got to where I am now with that. So that's like my main cup of tea.
Mhm.
The other cup is sometimes being the unhinged person in the space to say something. It's like everyone
Mhm.
has something to say, but they don't say it. But then
Yeah.
I come
Yeah.
along and I kind of
Mhm.
cause
So you're
a ruckus.
so
So
you're
yeah,
so you're a bit of a fire starter. It's pretty much what you're
A
saying. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
disruptive.
So
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, for sure. Hey, listen, before I ask this other question, I just want to welcome my co-host in the building, Ariana Aparicio, aka Ari. Can we got a
hey,
clap for
Yes,
Ari?
hi,
Say
Kaela.
Ari.
Thank you for coming. Thank you,
oh
everyone,
yeah,
for tuning in. Apologies, this is our second episode. We're still working through the little technical glitches in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
beginning, but we're so honored to have you. Loving your hair, girl.
Oh, thank
Listen, we're
you.
gonna have to stay stylist, or like you're gonna have to give me some tips because I'm literally just doing conditioning, girl. That's all I'm doing. But
Girl, I have
thank
to
you so
put
much
a
for honoring us.
hashtag because I'm like, I don't know what's going on,
Listen,
but
it's
look,
gonna be Bonnet Fridays. One of these episodes on
right.
here. Just everyone come with a do rag and bonnet. That's
Right.
gonna be it. But again, it's such an
Absolutely.
honor to have you. We look forward to hearing your story, how this whole thing came out to be. And I just had a question for you. So we heard your background and how you loved graphic design, graphic art. What would you say this is your passion for your life? Like, how did you fall into that?
I would say it is my passion. That and photography are the two main things I kind of delve in mainly. I just find like, I guess because I thoroughly enjoy it, like being able to create like a vision I see or create someone else's vision.
Mhm.
That's something that, for me at least, fuels me to keep doing it. So
Right.
I would say that's my passion, like the arts in general, but specifically graphic design and photography. Because my thing is too, especially graphic design within this space, I've overlooked great music because of cover art. And
Mm, mm.
it's like if someone that I, you know, didn't trust texted me and was like, "Hey, have you checked out, so and so's new album or song?" And I'm like, "Well, their cover art kind of sucked." So I
Mm,
just
Get
skipped over
past
it,
it.
So I like
mm.
really that's why, and I feel like too, that's why a lot of people work with me because I work with them. Like I see the potential in the artists in the space, especially those that are like starting to, make their way up per se.
For sure.
So, I work with their budgets, like I'm flexible with that. Because I'm like, look, when you put out quality music, like it sucks that at times in projects, cover art can be like the least important thing to a lot of
Mm,
artists, but they don't realize that
mm,
sometimes it's the most important thing, or at least one of the most important things, because
mm.
most people are visual, and when they see something and it's not attractive to the eye, they're not going to entertain it. So I'm just a big like, what's the word?
You're
Uh,
into quality control. You're into quality
yeah, pretty
control.
much.
You're
Yeah.
Yeah.
into Those
And
specifics. No.
I would definitely agree with that too, that
Yeah.
most people are visual buyers and
Right.
consumers, so it has to
Right.
look appealing to them before they even give it a chance. But that's such an
Right.
interesting perspective. So you basically felt like you help out the artist on like
Yeah.
just being visually noticed,
Right.
which is a very interesting concept because most artists focus on their sound as
Right.
opposed to their
Right.
look. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's, I mean, even in the, because I feel like when it comes to secular music, I just go back to the 2000s. Like whatever the kids are listening to now, I can't tell
Mm.
you anything. But even secular artists, I'm like, yo, how are you like a millionaire and your cover art is like tragic? But then the sound is great. But I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I'm also visual, obviously being like an artist, but I just try to encourage people in the space to like make sure they make that a priority. And honestly, I'm like, look, if all you can afford is $25, like, I'll work with you. I'll work with you because
Yeah,
I just
we'll
want
make
to
the
make sure.
25 bucks stretch. We're gonna make that
Right. Because
25
like
stretch somehow. Yeah.
right, because I'm like, I'm all about the importance of like putting out quality work, even if you've
Mm-hmm.
just started something. So yeah, so I would say that's my passion as well, is like helping people and kind of creating that sense of value, because I feel like sometimes as an artist you can kind of not know your worth, and I even fall into that a lot too, but
Mm-hmm.
just making sure other artists see their value. I feel like that's one way, my little contribution to society.
But
Yeah, it
great
makes sense.
contribution to the artist. I'm sure
Yeah,
they are thinking you're undervaluing yourself. Like I'm pretty sure you
yeah,
changed the lives and careers of many artists you work with.
right. Yeah.
So, Sauce, let me ask this. Well, actually, I want you to answer this as quickly as you can because I want to transition because you mentioned something. Let's see. Jimmy Rock. What up, Jimmy Rock? I'm here for Kayla's.
Hi,
Yes.
Jimmy.
Listen,
Yeah,
yo, guys, listen, hold tight. You're going to get there. You're going to get
we
there. I
gonna
know you
get
guys are
there.
excited. Listen, but it's important to know the person that's in the chat, because again, she's not a random. She,
Yeah.
as you heard, I'm basically setting a table. She cares about the art. She cares about quality control. She cares about presentation. She cares about originality. I hope you see where I'm going with this, right? So with that being said, Kayla, you mentioned just now, you can answer this really quickly if you can. That you've been in Christian hip hop and into Christian hip hop for a minute. Who was the artist that really broke the mold for you? Like, I'm really a big fan of this artist, and why is that?
Ooh. Um.
It could be more than one. I know picking one is hard, but
Yeah. It's a little hard now because I feel like now a lot of, especially the young artists, they're definitely bringing something refreshing to the space.
yeah.
But I guess I'd be a bit biased, because I'm like actual friends with them. But I feel like an artist
Mhm.
that I really have been a fan since day one has been 350. I did
Yeah,
one of
350 is better.
his
Yeah.
first covers back in like 2016, 2017, I think.
Mhm.
So just watching him and his brother A3 like grow in their career and just get better and better, and also me being a part of that process by doing art for them in certain moments.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a big fan of them, and they're also like really great dudes.
Yeah.
Outside of the social media space and whatnot, they're like really good dudes. So
Mhm.
I'm big on like growth in your artistry, and just seeing that from them, like that's really has been super inspirational for sure. And they're definitely, I would say, top two and my favorite of rappers, at least in the space right now.
Copy. Yeah, 350 makes amazing music for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that Kayla, even though you say you don't want to be biased with your friend, I have a feeling that, you're the type of person that if you have a friend who's an artist and they weren't doing what they were supposed to do, you'd be like, that ain't it.
Yeah, for sure. I've even had like friends text me. They're like, "So, what do you think of this cover? Should I use this one or that one?" And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, "Okay, use this one or change this about this one." Because I'm like, I just don't want you to like look bad, you know. So if my opinion matters, I'm gonna make sure that I direct you the right way per se. But yeah, I'm definitely that friend. And if I feel like the song sucks, I'm gonna tell you, hey, bro, I don't know what to do because I'm not a producer, but let's clean this up a little bit. I don't know, but I'm definitely that friend, and I'm sure you can tell by
Oh,
my tweet.
yeah, no, I
Yeah,
got it.
absolutely. So now I have a
Yeah,
question. So
yeah.
with this drop, with this playlist, I'm sure your friend into humanity right now, we trying to understand what was the thought that day? Like, let me just make this playlist. Like, what was the mission behind this?
So it's funny because that's a very common question.
It's the question.
I feel like
Yeah,
everyone, also Jimmy is lying. I'm not a huge fan of Bryson Gray. But that's
yeah, I
another
did see that.
topic.
I did see that. There's no
Um,
question about that.
But they also said you for president 2024, so you're coming behind it. Hi,
but
Henry.
yeah, that question, I guess it's just funny because I feel like I'm not saying you, but like other people that have asked me that, I feel like they want like a deep response. And I'm like, I
Mhm,
promise you, it wasn't deep at all. Like it started off as,
mhm,
how can I sum it up? The whole topic of originality within the space, it's
mhm,
been a topic that people have talked about in their group chats and Twitter, you know, throwing subtweets and their lyrics here and there, but no one's ever been actually direct about it. So
right.
I just, in the past month, I've just been seeing and hearing certain music artists just not showing that originality, and me seeing it a topic discussed but just on like social media here and there, nothing direct.
Mhm,
So Twitter is sometimes my journal where I like tweet my thoughts, and sometimes uh the thoughts cause a little chaos, and
right.
honestly did not think it was gonna lead to this. But one day I was like, you know, I should make a playlist about, you know, the CHH artists that copy other artists,
Right.
and I tweeted it and left. But I'm like joking because everyone knows I like joke and I'm sarcastic and stuff. And
Right.
I open that Twitter at the end of the day, and I just have like a bunch of notifications, and I'm like,
Mhm,
whoa, what just happened? And people are like, drop the link, not just consumers, but like actual, you know, artists, you know, that we know in the space. They're like, drop the link or do it, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I was not expecting, you know, I can see if it was just like my friends or other people, but like I'm not gonna name the artist. You can just go back to my Twitter, but you know,
oh yeah.
just artists in the space that are well known, and they're like, drop the link, sis, this and that, and I'm like, okay. So to me, it started off like as a joke, but I was like,
Right.
it's something that has to be addressed some way, somehow, right?
Mhm,
So what a lot of people don't know is that the playlist is 5% me and
mhm.
95% everyone else, meaning that I probably
Okay.
added 3 or 4 songs that I knew off the top of my head that were like carbon copies, and
Right.
everything else was legit artists and consumers DMing, texting me like links to Spotify. I even had artists send me their music that they knew they copied like a while back, and they're like, just add it on there, you know, just add it. And it
Oh,
Okay,
just,
okay.
okay, hold on. Stop. I need to stop. Wait, hold on. We gotta stop right here. So you're saying, right? Because you said, yo, I gotta get perspective on this. So this joke, because you were saying this and you made it seem like, yo, I'm just doing this for the sake of doing it, but I'm looking at 5 hours of music. I'm looking at
yeah,
112 songs, right? So I'm
yeah,
thinking this joke was the most elongated joke ever because you
right,
curated a 5 hour playlist. But now you're
right,
saying that you started, and I'm curious to find out what the 3 songs you started with were, but other people added to it, and even some artists, for lack of a better term, implicated themselves into this playlist
yeah,
by submitting music themselves, which
yeah.
is very interesting,
It
right?
is.
Very, very
It is.
interesting.
And I don't blame them
Yeah.
because I'm like, look, with how much attention the playlist has
Yeah.
gotten, I'm like, if I was an artist, I don't know, I would have make up a song on the spot and be like,
Right.
add it on there. It's gonna be more
That's attention.
streams, more somebody's gonna find my
Yeah.
music. You know,
Yeah.
so it's just funny because I feel like people were like, you really did this? And I'm like, honestly, I mean, even this morning I've had people send me more songs through my Instagram. So it's like every day I'm adding more music and I'm like, I hope y'all realize I don't have the time to curate a freaking 5 hour long playlist.
Right.
I'm not on my phone the whole day with my AirPods, like listening to everything. Like, this is
Right.
really the consumers and everybody else. The first few songs was me, everybody else, like, they were sent to me. And I mean, I even had a few of the artists that were on there find it funny. One of them, he already told me, he's like, Kayla, I know I'm going to be on there. And I was like,
Right.
a few more streams won't hurt, bro. So hey, I'll add your stuff on here.
Yes.
But it's just funny because I feel like the consumers, like everyone who wasn't on the playlist, everyone else was
Yeah.
like more upset about it than the artists themselves on the playlist.
So
And
wait,
I'm like,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Can you repeat that really,
yeah,
really clearly? Yeah. Get
yeah,
that one
I
more
just
time,
feel
please.
like I feel like the negative responses that surprisingly weren't a lot. I thought it was going to be a lot more negative like responses, but those who were upset were not even like artists. It was just, consumers of the art. And I'm like, I promise y'all, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, I just made this playlist and it's a topic that got addressed just in a different way, but people felt like it was malicious and divisive and stuff. But I'm like, I promise you that was not the intention whatsoever.
Yeah.
Some people even were saying like you're Katie Williams because Cat Williams opened up the
Yeah. Yeah.
exposure portal.
Yeah. The
The
exposure.
Exposure
Yeah.
2024. Yeah, and we still have
Yeah.
3 months left, so
Right.
we'll see. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So, Kiva, I have to ask this because somebody just asked a question in the chat. What are your thoughts on the lack of originality in CHH? And I want to say this before I get there because I didn't get a chance to say this before. Like when I came across your playlist, right? My main thing was it affected me because I sent you the music that I did on said topic, right? As
yeah.
far as just the originality or lack thereof in CHH, and my whole thing about Deuteronomy 28:13, be the head, not the tail. And I was always
Right.
big on making music and having Christians make
Right.
music that was genre defining, authentic, original, all these things. And Travis just mentioned, what are your thoughts on the lack of originality in CHH? Because I saw the responses to your playlist. And I saw a lot of people saying, hey, we've been talking about this a lot. And I like what you saw in your
Right.
chat. And then there were other people who were like, this person's virtue signaling. Why does she need to do this? And I saw that from artists and consumers alike. But I thought
Right.
what you did was extremely brave, extremely needed. So I'm curious I'm curious in finding out from you, why do you think people are not seeking out originality? Why do you think artists are literally giving you music that they know is a copy or a remix or a bite of somebody? And why are
Right.
they like invested in that? So yeah, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Well, the reality is we're in a whole different generation. Like it was kind of interesting how I received the same response from people in the space that were around from like the 90s to 2000s to 2010s to now. Like I feel like I spoke with every generation in regards to this topic, and a lot
Yeah.
of people across the board felt the same as far as lack of originality. Um, Not to excuse the artists from like the 90s and whatnot, because I know that technology compared to back then is way different, meaning that now like you have answers at the tip of your finger, like on your fingertip. So
Mm-hmm.
like you copying someone else beat and flow, like that's something that can be avoided because literally internet is all around you. It's on your tablet, it's on your phone, it's in the
Hmm.
grocery store, like TV, everything is on.
You can't
So
escape it.
um, you can't escape it. And, sadly, we're in a time where it's like, I feel like music is fast food now. Like, no one
Hmm.
enjoys, like, waiting for the drop of Andy Mineo's Heroes for Sale. And, you know,
Hmm.
like, I remember those days that I would stay up waiting for Google Play to drop it for me to buy the album and, like, listen
Hmm.
through. But now kids want, a track EP or singles every week. And then on top of that, artists are now almost forced to become influencers or content creators to get
Creators,
like an
yeah.
algorithm. So I get that at the end of the day, whether you're in Christian music or not, it's a game to play, it's a business to do. But
Hmm.
I do feel like, especially in the Christian space, that we're so big on integrity, accountability. Like we love throwing those words, but
Those words
when it
out.
comes to
Yeah.
our own art or other artists, we can't draw the line there. So, like I said, I'm big on remixes and covers on songs for social media content, but the issue lies where you copy the beat and the flow and you upload it to a streaming platform where you can gain profit. And I'm like, maybe this playlist was a good thing because maybe it avoided some of y'all to get actually sued. Um,
Right.
Or
and
Right.
space not
expose them
have something like
to
that.
that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Or expose them to those legal ramifications because their Conquest and I
Hmm.
did a really deep dive on your
yeah,
We did.
playlist. And
We
we
did.
looked up copyright law because of it. We looked up public domain because of it. And
Hmm.
I think out of all the songs we heard, only Not Like Us by Kendrick Lamar had the rights waived. And he
yeah.
gave people the rights to go ahead and make a remake, whatever, and sell it for
Right.
commercial, for commercial gains. So how
Yeah.
do you feel about people who may be angry at you for like this exposure or like them basically saying, "Oh my gosh, like she outed me."
Yeah. I forgot who it was I just told this weekend because I feel like it's been the topic for the past week. But I feel like when people realize, and I hope this doesn't come off mean, but when people realize that I don't care what they have to say, um, I
You
feel
really
like
don't.
that. Like I really don't.
Yeah.
Like if I go to another CHH event and see some of these people, I'm like, the same I am on social media. That's how I am in person. Like the same way I'll tell you something on a post, I'll be like, just meet me at the next event and I'll tell it to you if you like that.
Okay,
So I
that
think that
authentic
also
through and
bothers
through.
people a bit more because people are like very Twitter fingers and then they're upset and they don't feel validated. And I'm like, not that I'm invalidating by ignoring you, but bro, just listen to the playlist and I promise you it'll answer whatever question you have. Because I feel like a lot of people made assumptions because they instantly saw their favorite artist
Yeah.
and then they didn't listen to the playlist. And I'm like, well, if you listen to it, you'll understand why it was made.
Hmm.
But also, besides the negative responses and comments, I actually did have a few artists like DM me and give me like words of encouragement, like, no, sis, like this is something that has had to be done, and we
Hmm.
appreciate you. Like, don't let the haters, say like get to you pretty much. So all those artists that DM me directly after all this, like I really appreciate them because even though it didn't get to me, but like you just start overthinking stuff at times,
Yeah,
and
of
it's
course.
like you get in your head about it. But then it's like, oh well, at the end of the day, I'm not gonna meet half of these people anyways. So,
Hmm.
but it was interesting. I feel like a good thing about it, at least for me, was that through this process, I've been able to discover a lot of other artists I didn't know existed in this space,
Hmm.
um, and able to connect with them. So it's cool to see, like, connect with artists that I recently discovered their music that they're just starting, and I love that. I love to like be a fan of someone that just started because I love to see that growth. So at least for me, it was a win in my book. I'm like, look, even though whoever got exposed, but hey, they got new streams, they probably got new fans,
Mm-hmm.
they got traction to their social media pages
Mm-hmm.
and Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody kind of won,
Yeah,
in a sense. So
in
I'm
a
like,
way, yeah.
In a way,
yeah, in a way. And that's why people were sending me their stuff because they saw how much attention the playlist got and they just took advantage. Were like, hey, just throw this on here. And so,
Which honestly, Kayla, says a lot, because
yeah,
here's a question. Because here's the thing: there's artists that's pretty much saying, "Well, listen, I don't care what I got to do to get attention for my music, even in a playlist that is infamous at this point. It's not it's more to me. It's no different from what you said about being a content creator,
yeah,
being other things to garner attention, right? Because
right,
I looked at your playlist, right?
and so a lot of names on there, and then
The thing that I thought about was the fact that I was so glad some of the people who I think are thought provoking and really genre defining artists are not on the list. But then a lot of the artists that's on the list are some of the most popular artists in the game.
you know,
yeah,
Caleb Gordon came up there a bunch. Red Tips came up a gang of times. I know Red Tips did shows with Red Tips. He's dope.
but I was very surprised. Like I knew this existed. As Army, I played this, and I walked out the kitchen mad time because I couldn't believe the similarities. Right?
right.
It's crazy, right? So here's a question I have for you.
Out of all the songs, and I know you can't remember it all off top, but there's songs that are obviously copycats. Then there are remixes. I'm shooting bail here, guys. I'm shooting y'all some bail. Some are remixes, some are tributes, some are reinventions, and then there are some that are like, if you didn't know I got it for this person, you're not gonna know, but I'm gonna swipe Kanye style anyway.
What to you are the differences?
Um, Let me say something real quick before I forget. Now that you brought it up, I feel like an issue that was brought up by a few other people was that, and I'm not saying this is the intention behind the artist that blatantly copied and pasted. But not everyone in that's a believer listens to secular music. So
Ooh,
how
talk
about
about it.
those
Talk about
people
it.
that
Talk about it.
they didn't know that, Travis Scott Fiend was Big God. You know what I'm saying? So like it's
Mm-hmm.
like, is it manipulation at that point where, most of your fan base wouldn't even know what's
Nope.
going on? you
Mm-hmm.
know so I'm not saying that that's their intention, but that was something that a lot of people brought up, saying that it almost comes off a little predatory in a sense, because it's like
Yes.
you're wanting to get these numbers so high, and you know that a good base of your fan base are probably not up to date with the latest Drake or Kendrick or Travis, whatever,
They're
etc.
not.
So
Yeah.
you're making these songs your own, and then no one has a clue. So then when the playlist dropped, everyone's mad and pitchforks, and they're like, "Wait, I listened to the playlist now; it makes sense to me." I even
Mm-hmm.
have people that are like, "I don't even listen to secular music, but listening to your playlist, I didn't even realize like a lot of these were copies."
Yeah.
So
Fiend jumped out to me. There was In Me from KC ripping off RIP from Playboy Cardi. There was a
yeah,
bunch. I'm just like, what is going on? What is
right,
going on? You know?
right. Yeah, so that was an interesting point of view because I didn't even think of it until like different people brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, it goes back to like the integrity of it all. Like what are you really, what's your goal at the end of the day? Like, is it to be the Christian version of someone and, have that music like truly bring people to God, or is it just there for numbers, so I guess it's just finding like that balance of like doing it for God and like, working. Like at the end of the day, it's still business, but like I feel like there's not always a balance of like God and the business factor of it.
Yeah.
So that's where sometimes the line of integrity can be crossed because, I mean, the playlist can show you. So,
Yeah.
uh,
And then,
yeah.
Kayla, like, in your opinion, because Conquest and I was talking about it, when someone blatantly steals art, right? Art in a mass is something that has so many loose protections.
Yeah.
Artists talk about all the time, a track getting one extra layer. Blurred
Yeah.
Lines for me automatically came up in terms of secularism when they went through that whole court
It was about
case.
to get state. Mhm.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. Right. What to you can artists do to help protect themselves from this? Like we're talking the people who get stolen from. What do
Yeah.
you think they can do more? And what do you think
Um,
should happen to the artists who get outed? Like where do you feel like justice falls for you? Being an artist
Right.
yourself.
so I would say, as far as justice, I mean, we serve a just God. So, like, at the end of the day, nothing that's done in the dark is just going to stay there. Like, it's going to be, light's going to shine on it at some point. So, as far as justice, like, I always believe that the Lord will handle whatever is wrong. But I do believe that in that process, sometimes God uses things or people to bring to attention certain things.
Mhm.
Mind you, a lot of these guys on the playlist are super young.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
have themselves a lot of growing. Like we were 22, 23 at one point and, did things maybe a way we shouldn't have done it, or
Hmm.
we were just not as like aware. So that's why I believe like mentorship within the space is so important. So that way, like the new generation that's coming up, they can avoid making mistakes that can put them in a bad position. Because I'm like, I
Right.
promise you, half these dudes don't have the bread like that to get sued off the bat. As far as protecting themselves, even their own art, like just a lot of artists I know, they have like their lawyers that can discuss with them like what to do as far as like trademarking and copywriting. YouTube is free. Like go online, find answers. Uh, like I said, like we're in an era that you can't say that you did something because you didn't know. Like no,
Right.
the
They
answer
know
is in
where.
your hands half the time.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
um, yeah, so I feel like just knowing how to do things the right way, and not just knowing, but choosing to do things the right way,
In
that will
time,
get
for
you
sure.
further. Yeah, that will get you further.
Definitely. So
Okay,
listen.
definitely. Someone asked an interesting concept. Did you see it? Someone asked an
Yeah.
interesting
Yeah.
question in the
Yeah.
chat, and I
Yeah,
think this opens up a whole new ball game. So we
Yeah.
can start with
I think
opinions
it's.
on it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the question, if I'm looking at the right question, because I was about to hit that, I was about to say, Mel, my man Mel, the messenger said,
Yeah.
"Can we point each other? Sorry, can we point each artist? Can we not point each artist as someone that we've heard in the world? Right? Um,
yeah,
yeah, and I think that's a key one too.
Because I see a lot of artists in the chat. Q Official, Just Raised. Kayla, I want to ask you this, and I want to ask everybody in the chat this, right?
Like, how much is record labels culpable today? There's a song I heard today. Don't worry about it. Anike, Portia love that song, love that record, love that video. I didn't realize how much it resembled a City Girl song until I saw your playlist, and I was like,
yeah.
oh
It's
my god,
funny.
oh my
That
gosh,
was one of the
yeah,
more recent ones, and honestly, I just added that one for funsies, really, because I
okay,
know with them, the City Girls have like the whole hot girl summer brand, but
yeah, the
then
rapid
Portia,
vibe, yeah.
yeah, so they
So,
wanted to do the Holy Girl Summer. So that was a whole
hmm,
rebrand. And knowing how like Reach is and whatnot, like I'm sure they cleared things.
yeah,
So
yeah,
but I had a few people send me that one and I'm like, I'll just add it on there, whatever. They'll get more
right.
streams. Portia's my girl, so I'm like, whatever, I'll just add it on there.
So,
But as
so
far
the
as
reason why I asked that question though, Kayla, is
yeah,
because even with that, I was asking like, how much do you think record labels are culpable to this because, and I mean Christian record labels, because there's a lot of original artists in the chat. Like Chew is
Yeah.
one, Just Raised is one, a lot of dope guys who I can't call the Christian versions of anything. They're Just Raised,
Right.
they're Chew.
They're
But
who
in
they
my
are.
opinion,
Yeah.
there's labels who probably are listening to the secular music that's out there and thinking,
We need the holy girl summer to offset the hot girl summer. So how do you think record labels are culpable in that?
Well, it's a little hard because a lot of artists now are independent for the most part. They're not signed to anyone or anything. So they're their own, one man band type thing. But I do agree that as far as a record label in general, like if they want a specific sound to be pretty much imported into like the Christian hip hop world for that fan base. There's ways to do it without doing it illegally or gaining profit that you shouldn't be gaining, like getting samples cleared. I forgot the song because Alex Jean. I personally, his music hasn't grown on me. I feel like he's a great dude and whatnot. I just don't know his music like that. But I do remember when he got that Thames sample cleared. So
yes, he
that I
did.
respected because he like pushed it until he was able to actually get it cleared and be able to upload to streaming platforms. I'm like that. I don't have a problem with because that shows the integrity that he has to make sure he's doing things the right way. The
Right
issue
way.
is when you steal the beat and the flow and it's as if it's your song, but then there's no sample clearance. Like you just, I'm like, at least put it on SoundCloud or something where you're not making
Right. So we're
money,
not
but you're putting
making
it.
any sense.
Yeah, and then you look at the songs and they have like hundreds of thousands of streams or millions, and then it's like, and then someone mentioned, oh, not someone, a few people yesterday and today mentioned that it looks like one of the EPs got taken down from streaming platforms.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Exposing it for real because a lot of these record labels don't even know. And I wanted to pin a point. Let's go backwards a little bit. Close Describe Official said one way to help newer artists is teaching them how to move in the music space. I completely agree with that. Another
right,
way is to help them encourage them by stop listening to popular music while cultivating their sound,
right.
which again is something I think we could highly encourage.
Oh yeah,
I'm on the secular side of this discussion. I'm not in the Christian rap space or hip hop space. But
yeah,
Conquest and I had very interesting conversations to where I used to be a slam poet.
yeah,
And my influence was Tupac Shakur. So,
right,
us being younger, there was no such thing as, oh, put the credit of this person on your poem or whatever like that. When I used to perform live, people used to tell me, oh, you sound like the female Tupac. And I was like, because that's my influence. That's the
right,
person that I study.
right.
What would you say is the different, like, where would you say the boundary is between someone being influenced and it's going back to what I can't remember who said it, Mel, what
No,
would you
yeah.
say is the difference between people who are basically a culmination of all their influences in music versus completely copying and stealing from one
Yeah.
artist?
Yeah, like where the line is drawn per se
Right.
with that. Yeah. How can I say, like with me with graphic design, I have my artists friends and just artists that I look to for inspiration when I create something. Um, but as far as with like the music, like there's certain songs I've heard that I'm like, oh, this sounds like Travis Scott or whatever. Like I can tell who they were inspired by.
Right.
Um, and that's not a problem at all, especially that now I feel like a lot of the sound is the same, but just different when just a different, I guess, cadence per se. Because the generation now, their taste in music, as far as how it sounds, is a bit different. So like your Playboy Cardis, Coachis,
Right.
Travis Scott, like that's kind of the moment, right? But as far as drawing the line, like it's okay to be inspired and have like music that people are like, oh, I can tell they were inspired by XYZ, But my thing is, and a lot of people's not issue, but just thought is, if we serve the Lord, which is creator of everything, we shouldn't limit ourselves to secular artists. Like we should really have God like give us the vision He has for us and our artistry, whatever that is, and us just go with that, opposed to studying other people. And I'm not saying you can't be influenced, but if that's going to be the main thing for you and you're just going to be like how some people say the kids bot version of somebody,
Hmm.
I don't even know why you're doing it, because if people just know you for the songs that you copied, like is there even a point for you to be an artist? So that's how
And do
I
you believe every artist has their own unique sound? Like each person who comes into this space has their own message from God, their own voice, that to where they don't have to copy anybody.
I
They could
feel
just be
like
themselves.
I feel like I would say there's a few people in the space I can say that for.
Hmm.
Um,
I agree.
but not for everyone, unfortunately. I don't know. I think for me, I prefer someone being influenced by their environment, like or the area they grew up in, like that style music, or you know how
Mm.
Michael released Bodega. Like you listen to his Bodega, and it's like, like for me at least, I can remember going to New York City as a kid, seeing my family going to the local bodega and getting me like a sandwich and a Snapple, and just walking down,
Right.
you know, Central Park. Like it's a nostalgic feeling, but that influences like his environment, like his upbringing. So if more artists connected with God and with themselves, like I just feel like the art can be better. Because the crazy thing is that Caleb and Red Tip, for me, like they are fire to me. Like they
Hmm.
are great lyricists. But I'm like, I just need the same energy with your writing to be like the sound itself, you know?
Yeah.
Because I feel like people immediately thought that I like hated all the artists or whatever I upload. Because people just start assuming because they don't know you. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Of course. Yeah.
I'm a Caleb fan. Like Red Tips, he's fire. Like I don't think these guys are trash whatsoever.
And Red Tips is a great dude. I just want to say that for the record. Again, I just did a show with him in Philly in June. Great guy, great live performer. I just didn't know about the other stuff.
And that's a big
Yeah,
conversation as well too. Like just because you shed light on something does not mean you hate that person. If
right,
anything,
right.
you're trying to get to the root as to why. Like we want to know, like, do you not feel confident in your sound? Do
Yeah,
you feel like do you want to be promoted more? Like
yeah,
what's the root of that? Yeah, for
What's the
sure.
methodology?
Yeah.
Really? What's the
yeah.
methodology?
A part of holding people accountable is a form of love to me.
Right, it
Yeah.
is. But sadly, people like to talk about accountability, and I've seen it a lot in this space. But when people are actually held accountable, all of a sudden it's a problem. And I've seen it happen way too much in this space. I mean, it's really just church in general. Like, we love to hold others accountable and everyone else,
Hmm.
but the minute it's us, our favorite pastor, our favorite artist, it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, you got to forgive and move on or whatever. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool, but I'm gonna need them to like get it together for a second, please. And, but people don't understand that. And I get it. Like a lot of people that listen to Christian hip hop, like not everyone is in the same, journey or walk with God. Like there's people who just came to the faith. There's people that don't take it seriously or as seriously. So like I understand that, but at the end of the day, like this was bound to happen. And I have a friend that he was like, between Tori Deshawn's new album and your
Mm.
playlist, CHH is gonna hit a reset button. And I thought that was
Yeah.
like the
Yeah. So
funniest
that I
thing.
think I saw that comment. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
comment. Yeah, I
Yeah, I
think I
thought
saw
that
it.
was so
Hey,
funny. Yeah.
super dope. Hey, it's funny because somebody said in the chat earlier that how, hey, we shouldn't be copying the world should be copying us. Because I'm gonna keep it real with the chat, right? Um, I'm older. I've listened to music as far back as Led Zeppelin and Eric B. and Rakim to
Right.
guys like Kendrick Lamar to Destroy Lonely to Travis Scott to Under Oath. So,
Right.
you know what I'm
I love
saying?
that band. One of my favorite
Yeah,
bands.
Love Under Oath, incredible. Tame Impala. There's a variety of eclectic music styles that I listen to, both Christian and secular, right?
Right.
Because I'm a music lover, music nerd at heart. Because
Right.
really, the only form of music that I felt came from a wholly original place is gospel
Right.
music. Like pure gospel music came from a certain place that goes all the way back to slavery. That is
Yeah.
literally
The only form of music that is Christian.
that has been built pretty much from the ground up. Everything
Right.
else has been alternative, but there's
Right.
a way to find originality in the alternative too. Isn't there things that we can learn from secular music?
Yeah.
Because this is what we've noticed. A lot of people, a lot of artists will go on Instagram and be like, I'm going to burn all my secular music. I'm going to throw away
Right.
all my secular CDs. I'm going to throw away my secular playlist. But you are obviously influenced and tied to whatever's going into the secular world because it shows up in your music. You know,
Yeah.
there's a song that you had on your playlist that is like, yo, this is totally Kanye's chord. This guy is
Right.
a Kanye disciple. I can tell. So there's no
Yeah.
way you can tell your people don't listen to secular music, but you're using it to now
Right.
redeem people, to get people to redeem themselves from secular music. It's an oxymoron. So I feel like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I feel like, hey, we all have secular influences one way or the other. And secular
Yeah.
in a certain situation is not all bad, but at the same
It's
time,
not.
even
No, it's
yeah,
not. I
even
like how
even though I
Jordan
love
said.
Eminem and Royce and all those guys,
Right.
technical MC, I can be my own technical MC based on what God gave me.
Right.
Absolutely. And if I can even ask the question, Kayla, let me know your thoughts about this. Do you think secularism should be almost undemonized, if that's the word, I guess, or like brought down in terms of if artists want to go explore the world and and explore a sound, that the church shouldn't be so quick to just banish them or excommunicate them or say that they can't do that? Do you feel like there's any type of benefit that you get if you go into the whole world as an artist as opposed to just the Christian hip hop space?
As far as like are you saying like the church's response to someone getting uh involved with like the Christian rap community?
Yeah, like it's secularism as a whole. Because when Conquest and I were talking earlier, it was basically, wow, we're gonna take these artists and almost like ban them
Yeah.
from secularism. Like you can't step outside of this. Like you are belonging here. If you're of Christ, if you're of the faith, then you're not allowed. But the people who tend to be the number ones in the Christian hip hop space, somehow they got out and they were able to do that and come back. And I think that's where your playlist kind of hits for me as a
Yeah.
secular artist. Is like, wow, if more artists were less demonized for
Right.
going out and finding the people who's not just in the Christian space in their environment, but how many of us grew up in the hood and can relate to Lauryn Hill? How
Right.
many of us grew up in the hood and can relate to Tupac, Biggie with gang violence? But we're still
Right.
Christian, right? Like we still want to
Right.
follow God. We still want to submit
Mhm.
ourselves. But the music is talking about our experience. Do you
Right.
think the church should understand that and allow that? Or do you think they're right in saying, no, you're not to go of the world because we're trying to condemn everyone else?
Yeah, there definitely can be less demonizing. I feel like that's a whole other uh it can be a deep dive for sure. I grew up in the Caribbean, so going to like, a black church was
Mhm.
going to black church, and I felt
Where in
like
the Caribbean were you from?
St. Croix,
Oh, okay,
Dominican
Trinidad.
Islands, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so I actually have some Trini cousins because their dad, he's from Trinidad, but it's a
Right.
blend in the
Yeah, it's a
Caribbean.
blend down there for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So, but I always saw how like Christian hip hop was even like Christian hip hop was demonized, and it's like you couldn't do that because it sounded like the world, and then it goes back to what you're saying is like demonizing secular music as well. So I feel like the church in general can do a better job with not demonizing. Because at the end of the day, these artists, there's people out here that need to relate to these artists,
Mhm.
and it's better for them to relate to a Christian artist than a secular artist. Like I'd rather you not relate to a Juice World or, an X, RP to both of them, as we know how they passed, and the music that, was very dark and sad that they put out. But like, I guess too, because I see Jordan's comment about alternatives are
The
good for the
remixes.
culture as well. Um,
Right.
it's kind of ties back to the question of like what you were saying, Ari, about um I was my train of thought, but saying like alternatives. I do agree with Jordan as far as alternatives are good for the culture because you kind of need to shift the music listener to something positive, uplifting, and godly,
Mm-hmm.
But I do also believe that a Christian artist's image per se shouldn't be solely somebody else's image. Or, how some songs on the playlist were like the exact same cadence, beat, and flow, and it's like,
One that stuck
you
out was
can listen to
Stands.
the original song. Like, I just
Yeah.
play track. Like, honestly, every time Big God comes on, I'm like, I'm gonna just listen to the Travis album because like it's the same thing,
It's the same
at least to me.
thing.
So there's
I'm
Yeah,
a
like
huge
that.
it's not like,
Eminem
oh,
fan. When I heard that Stan copycat, I was
yeah,
like, "What?" Yeah,
yeah,
that hit me like. There's a version of that.
yeah. Or like
I think it was
with
like
Jordan,
Darabon.
like I just listened to an EP he shared with me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because I have one of his songs on the playlist that's like a Kanye remake. But the
Mm-hmm.
thing is, it's not like that's all his music. Like people aren't gonna
Right.
be like, oh, he's a Christian Kanye. It's like, you have maybe one or two songs that were like a remake, but everything else is your originality. And and sometimes you do have to make a remake or whatnot to be able to get like your numbers up because I understand that
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah.
business. But when it becomes your full identity, that's where things can get a little blurry because then it's like, all right, it's cool that's your identity now, but like, are we doing it the right way? Are we making sure that things are cleared? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not just because you're rapping about God gonna handle everything. Like, there's steps for you to take before uploading anything online, So
Yeah.
yeah, so I definitely agree with what Jordan's saying in the chat.
Yeah, because I want to be careful not to just paint with a wide brush because again, there
Yeah,
are songs that are built for
yeah,
attention grabbers to bring to the original
right,
music, and there's some people who are doing it the right way. There's some
right,
people who are doing like a cool remix,
right,
but it's not the breadth of their identity. But some
right,
are the breadth of their
right.
identity.
Unfortunately,
But this has been
Yeah,
such a great conversation. Thank you
it's
so much
great.
again,
Yeah,
Kayla.
Yeah,
This has been great.
yeah, and that's what I was saying. Like, I know the playlist, like, cause chaos or whatnot, and
mm-hmm.
people have different responses, but like conversations like this one has been happening on
Mm-hmm.
social media. Like, our group chats have been talking about like just kind of dissecting different things. Like, yeah, cool. Some people got quote unquote exposed, but it's like we're finally like having conversations in CHH about music in general. And
Right.
yeah, and I think that's something that's kind of been lost in a sense because
Mm-hmm.
there's been just artists popping up and fan bases and stuff, but I feel like conversations like outside of an actual CHH event doesn't really happen like that. And I just feel like it just caused a lot of buzz for like all types of people. I even had people reach out and be like, hey, like I came across your page because of the playlist and, I would want to work with you. Like, also, I put other artists on with other artists, like, oh, I added this because I made a Kayla Sauce playlist to add, like, other artists and whatnot. And I've been able to like connect other artists with other artists. So like, yeah, the playlist, for some people was malicious and bad, but like I feel like a lot of good conversation and networking came out of it as well. So
No, I
like I
agree.
said
I
earlier,
agree.
it was low key a win for everybody. So
Maybe you should put together a playlist called "The Christian Artists Who Don't Copy Who Are Complete
Right.
Originals."
Right.
Maybe that might be the next one. All right?
Yeah, just
So,
then they'll want to jump on that one more. Like, no,
sure,
not me.
definitely. Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
I have one last question on this particular subject before we close out. And my question is this: uh, given the fact that Christian hip hop music, the subgenre, is probably getting the most attention that it's gotten in a long time on the mainstream circuit with guys like Miles Minnick, Lecrae,
Lecrae.
E1. My question is this: as consumers and as artists, because I see both in the chat, what can we do better?
I'm not sure if they might type their answer in there, but
Mm,
it's as simple as just talk. Like if because at the end of the day, like all these artists are friends with other artists in the space, and I'm like, if you see that your friend is, maybe doing something that they shouldn't, or it doesn't seem that it has like integrity or whatnot, like just tell them like, hey, we should redirect this. Honestly, I feel like it just boils down to communication.
mm,
Um, and like, let's not compete, because at the end of the day, it shouldn't be a competition of who has most numbers or this and that, because then that's when things become divisive.
mm,
But just talk, like that's what I was saying, like with this whole conversation and the playlist, it's like it stayed in group chats and subtweets on Twitter, but it was
mm.
never directly addressed.
Never
And I'm
the
like,
public. Yeah.
just address it. Like I've told people when they shouldn't do something, or they shouldn't, drop something yet, because guess what? It kind of sucked, or it sounded like, something else, or so honestly, like I said, communication really is the thing, at least for me. And just be better at it. Like just be more upfront. I feel like if more people were upfront about it, a lot of issues would be avoided, because I mean, once you talk out something, you were able to like get to know that person and stuff. And um, yeah, because I feel like with no communication, that's when a lot of like that clicky type environment can also happen, where you have like certain artists and other artists, and they're all in their own little groups, and you know that can become divisive. So, but I'm also big on communication, but I know not everyone is.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like is something that's healthy and needed in the space for sure.
Definitely. Kayla, I just
Understood.
want to thank you.
We wanna
Kayla, I just want to thank you.
thank you, Kaela. Thank
Yeah, I
you.
appreciate
For
y'all.
being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the conversation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call you the disruptor. So that's your title. Like, you came out here and you fit right into the frequency of
Yeah.
2024,
Right.
Yeah.
the year of exposure, of accountability,
Kayla Williams.
everything in the dark coming to
Kayla
light.
Williams.
And you just did it. You just did it as a joke. You just did it as a
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
like this thing. And look at how big it got. And I think, if
Yeah.
anything, that definitely shows the Most High is moving here.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's using everybody. He's using.
Right.
It's like whoever he's using, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm joking." Cat Williams was just on a podcast. He didn't think he'd go viral.
Right.
Right.
And my thing is, I'm like, if anything, the playlist should also, not just whoever's on it, but everyone else. I'm like, it should just motivate everyone to just pursue more originality, whatever their artistry looks like. Don't take it as a bad thing. Just be like, hey, you know what? I just wanna find my lane and find like my niche,
Mm-hmm.
and like, maybe this, who knows, maybe there's someone out there that this forced them to maybe even rebrand themselves and be like, hey, I think I need to find like my art, and that's what I was hoping too, that this playlist would do, is just kind of promote like originality for yourselves and whatnot. But yeah, and it's crazy because I actually had a friend today say that he was at a men's retreat over the weekend. He's been off social media this month, and he said that at the retreat they were talking about the playlist, which was crazy because this guy's all the way in
Because you're a
Houston. And I'm like,
conversation.
yeah. So I'm
You're a
like, you see, like everyone's
conversation.
just talking about it, and
Yeah.
like I said, conversation. I feel like at least conversations like these have been needed for a while. Like I said, outside of like a CHH event,
Yeah.
so it's been a roller
Absolutely.
coaster, with everyone's responses and stuff. But like, I'm also very like optimistic and kind of look at things beyond like what they are. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I just
Yeah.
encourage everybody to just, keep God first, submit your life and your art to God, and you will,
Mm-hmm.
trust me, you'll find yourself in
He'll make a
it.
way. He'll make space for you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Katie Williams, aka Kayla Sauce.
Right.
Yes, thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming on our podcast. Tell the
Yeah.
people what's next for you.
Yeah.
Well, I have some possible good news, but I will keep you guys posted on it because it's not 100% yet, but I'm sure it'll be something you guys would want to talk about in the next, maybe not next episode, but like in the next quarter of things,
Okay.
some
Okay.
possible opportunities. So, but
Okay.
I'll keep y'all posted and we'll stay in touch. And yeah, so this
So,
was Kayla Fox speaking, and this has
yeah.
been your Deprogrammed
Thank
podcast.
thank you, Kayla. Thank you
Listen,
so
what she
much.
said just
And we will
now,
keep in
yeah,
touch.
Yeah,
she pretty much told y'all to follow her at Kaela Creates, which is
yeah,
Kaela Creates, the normal way
yeah,
you would spell creates,
right.
CREATE. You know what I'm saying? She said she got some stuff down the pipe. Yes. Kaela,
Yeah.
say that last part again. That last thing you said. Say that one more time. Say that one more time for the people.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. This is Kayla Sauce, and this has been your Deprogrammed podcast.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Kayla.
We're going to let you go. Me and Ari are going to hang out a little bit, maybe talk to a couple more people here on the
Okay.
chat. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, but thank you, Kayla. Appreciate you. Kayla,
Thank
talk to
you.
everybody.
Thank
Kayla,
We
talk
y'all.
to
look forward
everybody.
to seeing you
Okay.
again.
Oh
Thank you so
yeah, you guys
much.
have a good night.
You
You too.
too. Good night.
Oh, man. Wow.
Wow.
What a
Wow.
conversation.
Kayla
What a
Sauce, ladies and gentlemen, that was, ooh, 2024
conversation.
showing up to be the year, huh, Conquest? This is it. I think that surprised me. She started as a joke, and look at what it built to. That's
Sure did.
incredible.
I'm
That's
sure
incredible.
that relates to something that you've told me in the past before. Like, just do something and just see what happens. I believe you've had that conversation personally with me before. Yeah. Just, I'm just gonna
But you
put it out
never
there.
know.
You just
The
never
Most
know.
High uses all of us. You never know. That's incredible. I doubt
Incredible.
she was expecting this. Like, she probably woke up with like 1,000 messages like, put me on this and da da da, and what's your thought on this? And she's just like, I'm just I just posted. But that was incredible. That was such a blessing. Kayla Sauce, again, thank you so much.
Mhm.
What was your main takeaway from what she was saying?
Well, real quick, I will say that, man, so much. I love the fact, the one thing, and I know I can break this down in so many ways, but I love the fact that she was brave enough to be a disruptor. I love her attitude. I wish that I saw more of it in the space because she was very much like, hey, this is what it is. I'm very much about quality. Keep your art and your packaging almost on the same tier because we want people to see it before they believe it and hear it, right?
Right.
And again, the fact that we need to have more conversations about things like this in the space. It shouldn't be an underground conversation, a DM conversation, on the low conversation. What she did is bring something that people grumble about and then put it to the light. It's like being at your job and a bunch of employees are like talking amongst each other like, yo, the boss is like heinous, but they never say anything. They never confront the person. They never have hey, we need to have an emergency meeting. They just complain until either someone leaves or they get fired. But there's no real accountability and confrontation. And I feel like the playlist had everything to do with that. So it was really, really an amazing conversation for sure. Definitely. That's one of my takeaways. Any last takeaways from you? Because I get a feeling that we may have to shut this down pretty soon.
Key takeaway, like you said, I agree with everything you said. And I think, again, it's just stay in your purpose. Have faith in your craft. Have faith in your voice. Have faith in, especially because we're saying that this is Christian hip hop, right? So practice your faith. Don't ever think you're not good enough. Don't ever think that you don't have a space made for you that your listeners are waiting for. Like, they're waiting particularly for you. They might like this person, they might gravitate towards that person, but they're waiting for you. They are your fans, and God will always hold a space for you. There's no need. One of the commandments he gave us, don't be jealous, right? Don't covet. Why would he say that? He says that because he made a space for you. Why would you be jealous of someone else when I gave you your own? You have your own. So have faith in that. Have faith in yourself. Build that confidence. And understand that you have an original voice, something that no one will ever be able to replicate. And have faith that that is enough. And I think that's a major takeaway from it. I think we're going into this frequency of this year where everyone's just like, man, authenticity is what we're getting to. And we would rather, for me, I would rather operate in that than anything that's fake. I would rather operate in that than anything that's a lie. It's like, let me know the truth and then make an informed decision. Let me hear you for what you are. And if I don't like your style, then that's okay. But there's someone else next to me that heard your style and you're the greatest thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the year. I'm looking forward to the further conversation. Guys, again, DM us opinions, feedback, DM us next topics. But, yeah, I think this was an amazing episode, and I think I look forward to the future of Christian hip-hop and what it does for you all in the space, the artists that get the exposure now after being in the shadows for so long. I'm excited. I'm excited for the rebirth of this. I'm excited for it.
I'm excited about how hip hop, Christian or otherwise, can grow and affect the culture. That's really what I'm excited about, because again, the whole idea is just the music being at a high level, not just because of awards it could win or the platinum sales it could achieve, but the fact that we have such a powerful message that the world needs, or at least they have a choice to take it if they want to. You know what I'm saying? Because not everybody is meant to be a believer or a Christian or whatever the case may be, but at least we're offering an alternative that you can at least have a choice where it's just like, you know what? I like what this person is saying. This person might make me want to reconsider my relationship with Jesus and change my life. Or maybe that song that you did, I might be maybe an atheist or whatever the case may be, but now I'm not thinking about killing myself because I heard that song and it was really good. So whatever it is, I just want more option.
For censorship, unaliving.
Yeah, unaliving, right? For that sense, yes. You know, so it's the whole idea of just making sure that there's alternatives in our hip hop music except for, or instead of one thing, you know?
Absolutely.
And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, with that said,
ladies and gentlemen,
next episode, you know, thank you guys for hanging out. And my name is Jason Andre Roberts, aka Conquest.
And this is Ariana Aparicio, aka Ari. And this has been your regular scheduled deprogramming. Good night, guys. Look forward to the next episode.
Peace.